Right now I'm trying to get the camera set up in a new little spot, and I just have a little Charlie boy here just wanting to cuddle on me. You're such a good boy. You're such a good boy. That's going to be the intro for this video. Hi! I'm PapaKenn, and welcome to a brand new episode of Discovering Doctor Who. Little bit of a location change here. Hopefully you like the little background of the CDs and the DVDs. Today I'm going to be talking about the episode New Earth. Technically the first episode of the second season, but it's the second one according to Netflix. So that's what I'm going with and what's going to be displayed here. Alright, so this episode it's another one written by Russell T Davies, and yet another one that I really enjoy. So I'm not even going to really call attention to that anymore unless, there's really a reason to, because he's been doing really good, I gotta say. These, the Christmas episode, this one, the minisodes, it's all just been really good for quite a while now. And one thing I really liked about this episode is that it's really creepy. They did a really good job of, giving you this pristine new Earth, making it look very clean and lovely. And then all of a sudden there's just this very dark twist to it that I really appreciated and I liked. It's not perfect. In fact, the creepiness has some significant flaws that a lot of, I guess you would say, a lot of modern horror movies, or just horror movies in general, it's sort of a trap that they tend to fall into. But like I said, overall, the creep factor was really nice. And oh my god, Cassandra from the second episode of the new show is back, and that confused me to no end. It's didn't she disintegrate essentially? That was a very strange moment, but the way it's explained is kind of hilarious. With her basically, her second skin being made from her backside. That was kind of a classic moment, and I really liked the way that they structured that. Speaking of structure, I'm going to be starting here on Discovering Doctor Who a sort of new way of structuring things to try and keep things brief without just, sort of summarizing the entire episode. And to start off with, I'm going to talk about my favorite quote from this episode. And there were several things that were said that I liked, but there was one that I like it because it's just really weird and makes no sense whatsoever. This is after Cassandra takes over Rose's body, and she's talking to Chip and says, "Never trust a nun, let me actually make sure I get this right. Never trust a nun, never trust a nurse, and never trust a cat." And she says that this is supposed to be an old Earth saying. I'm pretty sure that saying doesn't exist. If it does, someone tell me, because I've watched this episode twice, once a few nights ago and once right now. And every time I've seen that, I just sit there at the screen what? Again, it's that's my favorite quote of the episode, because it's just so bizarre and weird, and I can't even say it's poorly written, because it's just such a strange thing to write and have them say. And this is a show where an alien regenerates himself to become someone else, among other things. And another aspect of the show is going to be, I'm going to talk about my top 5 moments, or my 5 favorite things about this episode, as well as something that really bothered me about this episode. I'm going to get the bad news out of the way first. The part of this episode that really bothered me, and I had said in a previous episode that I wasn't really going to rag on the special effects or the graphics anymore, but for the most part, this episode did pretty good. When you actually see, when they land on New Earth, It looks really nice, very obviously CGI, or computer graphics, but it looked nice. But then during the whole zombie-ish invasion thing going on, whenever regular people or the cat nun sisters would get touched, there would be this special effect of them being infected. And every time that happened, like, I just cringed watching it actually take place. Not because it was disgusting, but because it looked so horribly, horribly faked. Like, I don't know if their budget went down because they spent all the money on making New Earth look really good, but it was just bad. Like I said, just the way it looked when someone would get infected, especially the first time, it just looks really stupid. Like, I don't know if it's just obvious that they're in front of a green screen or how it was done, but it really, really bothers me to watch those scenes, and it just really annoys me. But moving on from the bad news about this episode to talk about basically 5 of my favorite things, and there were a lot of things that I really liked about this episode. Very clever moments, very interesting and fun moments. So it was actually quite hard for me to boil it down to just my top 5. But a few things about this episode that I really liked, other than, like, beyond just the top 5. Well, like I said earlier, it's nice and creepy. We get to see the face of Bo, who had also appeared in the second episode. It seems that he's going to play a bigger role later in the show, and sort of played a significant role in this episode, or it's like sort of a foreboding part of the episode. It is very interesting. And also, well, one thing that was hilarious, the doctor keeps insisting that the hospital that they're in needs a shop. Like, he's just very adamant about this. Like, they can have a shop right there. Or, this place needs a shop for people to shop in. And it's just really weird that he's, again, so adamant about this and keeps repeating it over and over again. It was just really hilarious that he did that. And one other sort of honorable mention, when Rose is separated from the doctor, basically she goes into this portion where Cassandra and her little her sidekick Chip are, and when she's getting ready to follow him down the hallway. I apologize for the background noise. My cat is playing with something. What's wrong with you? Anyway, Rose basically picks up it's like a iron rod or something like that. But basically, unlike some people in sort of horror movie situations, she makes sure she has a weapon. Thank you for making the character of Rose an intelligent one. She's not just going to go in like, oh, I'm going to follow the creepy guy. No, she's going to follow him, which is kind of a dumb decision, but she follows him and she makes sure she has a nice, big, heavy weapon to use if he attacks her. Thank you again, writers, for making the character a good one. Now, to move into the actual top 5 moments of this episode, the first of which is, it takes place after Rose has been infected, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, Cassandra is in Rose's head and has taken over her body, and she kisses the doctor. Now, it's just, Cassandra is very much relishing that she's in a young, attractive body again, and just lays it in on the doctor, gives him a huge old kiss, and as she walks away, the doctor is just like, still got it. It was just a classic comedic moment. It was just really well done, and I really liked that. Now, the second favorite moment would be actually the actual zombie, if you call them that, but the flesh, the new human beings, but when they escape from their capsules, and it's sort of like this whole zombie invasion segment of the show. And it's just, that was really well done overall. Now, other than, the negative thing that I mentioned before, where, if they touched them, it looked really hokey, the actual invasion was legitimately creepy. It was really well done and very a good callback to, again, it's like if they were going for zombies, which they obviously were, like a very nice callback to some of the classic zombie movies, the way they appear on some TV shows, maybe back in the day, but I really like the way that was portrayed, and obviously my number 4 moment of this episode. Now yeah, I'm going to number this properly. It may sound weird, but okay. The third favorite moment of this episode is actually when the Doctor goes off on the cat people sisterhood, basically goes off on them after they've discovered the capsules. He just goes off on these people, yelling at them, just like to describe it doesn't know justice. But that segment right there, and when he questions them about what they've done to Rose, because he thinks that they are the ones responsible for making Rose act weird, that segment right there is just so good and so reminiscent of the Ninth Doctor, and just the way he could get super intense and angry when he needed to be. And just, oh, that was just such a great moment within the episode. And now the fourth, and actually next to favoritist moment of this episode, would actually be when Cassandra takes over the Doctor's body. That span of time when she's taken over his body is absolutely hilarious. Just the way David Tennant acts in that segment is just absolutely hilarious, and just very hello. Again, it's like, if you haven't seen this episode, you need to watch it, because it's just an episode filled with great moments, and that one is just absolute comedy gold. It's just, I love it. And then finally, the best moment of this episode. Hi, Charlie. Can you stay right there for me? Thank you. And finally, the absolute best moment of this episode is actually right at the end when Cassandra has taken over Chip's body, which he volunteers, and she finally leaves Rose's body for good because the Doctor forces her to. But the Doctor and Rose take her back to the time where she mentioned earlier in the episode. It's a time when she was still in her human body, and it was the last time that she says anyone ever told her she was beautiful. So in that moment, her and Chip's body walks up to her younger self and tells herself, you are beautiful. You are so beautiful. And just that moment where the, human Cassandra, just the looks that are exchanged, and the music, I'm sure, probably didn't help any, but it was just such a powerful and emotional moment. Showing that this character, who, for all means and purposes, isn't likable at all. Like, Cassandra is not a likable character. But even she comes to this realization that, she's human, she has to die, and it's like she goes out on a fairly beautiful note. I really like the way that despite the fact that she's technically evil, or, well, technically just a bad guy, that she too deserves a proper way to leave, a good end to her life, basically. I just really like that moment. Now, I don't know if it's other people's favorite moment of this particular episode. It may not be anyone's favorite part of anything with Doctor Who, but just that particular segment, I really liked it a lot, and I appreciated the way it was done. Now, everyone, I hope you like the new structure here. I know I had a lot of honorable mentions before my actual top 5, but I'm going to work on trying to sort of streamline this, make it a little bit more enjoyable overall, again, without going on too long about each episode, and keeping it enjoyable for everyone. And again, thank you all very much for watching. Next time on Discovering Doctor Who, I'm going to be talking about the episode Tooth and Claw, which apparently goes back to Victorian times, back to when Queen Victoria was alive, apparently. And apparently there's a wolfman involved, so this should be an interesting episode. But everyone, again, for the third time, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this, and stay tuned for the next Discovering Doctor Who.